Well, hello everybody and welcome to, 2024. Oh man, well, I just can't comprehend where time goes. Now, one thing I want to do more of this year is printing. So I thought it would be a good idea to print my very best images of 2023, but then that's it's a bit predictable and it's not really gonna help that many people watching this video. So I thought, whilst looking at my best images of 2023, wouldn't it be useful to also look at my worst images of 2023? So we'll fire up the printer and get started on this, and we'll also be looking at some of the less successful images of the year.
Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Whoa! Well, that was a printing marathon. 10 of my favorite images from 2023 on various papers at various sizes. Now, initially, my idea was to do this and then offer said prints for sale, but I've had so many issues when printing that I can't sell any of these prints. Almost, I think bar one or two, they all have something wrong with them, mostly where the paper has come into contact with the print head. And especially on like this paper, this is a smooth cotton. And I absolutely love this paper, it's beautiful, but the corners kept catching in the printer. Even when I did a manual feed, the corners would catch and the print heads would strike. So until I get my printer sorted, I'm not selling anything. But the prints themselves, the actual images, are fantastic. It's just the printer seems to be mangling the paper. I don't know, it's not good. So, let's start with this image, seeing as I have it in my hand. This is definitely up there with the possibly top 3 images of 2023. This was taken in Scotland during a beautiful winter snowstorm, and it was fantastic. The shapes of the patterns, the snow, and of course, these dark trees here. This is everything I look for in an image. It also happens to be January's image in my 2024 calendar. I believe there are still some left. I think about 8 or 9 are left. So if you're interested, yeah, get one of those orders. I'll get them shipped out tomorrow, Thursday. So yeah. Anyway, yes, very happy with this image. Oh. All right, so I've come over to the computer to talk about this image. This is one of my favorites from 2023, taken in Iceland, of this Arctic fox isolated in this just field of whiteness. It's fantastic and I love this image. And it's a great example of negative space and just having a minimalist single subject. Now here on my screen is a terrible example of having a single subject with negative space and a minimalistic feel. I don't know what I was thinking with this. In fact, to tell a lie, I do remember I was in possibly one of the worst locations ever, actually in Svalbard, and I was desperately, in fact I challenged myself to find an image in this bleak, wet, grey, miserable, slushy landscape.
The literal definition of polishing a turd.
And I found this, a single leaf in snow. And I was desperate, and it was the only thing, more or less, in that moment that I could find to photograph. And it's a shocker. It's got nothing, absolutely nothing going for it. And it's quite a good example to show how difficult creating a minimalistic image can be. Because even though you have the ingredients, they have to be high quality ingredients and they don't always work. An Arctic fox blowing with snow, high quality ingredient. A mushy brown leaf about as big as my thumbnail, not good. Now don't worry, we are gonna look at more bad images from 2023 and see what went wrong there, but let's have a look. This is a nice one. Actually, this came out all right. This is almost perfect. I managed to trim off all of the print head strikes. So actually this one I could sell, but I'm not going to. Not yet anyway. So this beautiful lone birch tree in a wood, just, where was this? It was in the Cairngorms. And I think for me what makes this image stand out, well it's the burst of colour, it's the subject. So you've got the uniformity of the trees and then the subject, this birch tree that just goes against the grain, swimming against the tide. It's not conforming with all of the uniform pine trees, and I really like that. And of course, you've got the mood with the mist and the nice bit of light there. So yeah, really, really happy with this image. And you know, if we could get conditions like this every time we go out, man, I'd be printing 100 images and not just 10. Right, let's have a look here. Let's do this one. I tell you what, this came out really well. This is on Canon's Pro Platinum paper, which is like a really high gloss. You can see it there just reflecting. Actually, this came out beautifully. This is an almost perfect print, I would say. Absolutely fantastic. Now, for me, this image is so much more about the experience than the actual image. This was up at Loch Assynt, I believe, in the north of Scotland, and it was a really heavy snowfall winter's day. But when I woke up in the morning, there was hardly any wind, and it was so still and so peaceful. And they had these islands on Loch Assynt, and just isolating one of these islands in a square format worked really well. So very, very happy with this image. All right, let me just come over to my computer so I can look at one of my poor images from 2023. This image was taken on my recent trip to Spain. I daily vlogged it. If you haven't watched any of them, I really enjoyed making them and filming them, but this never made it into the video. I filmed a whole sequence around this image and then just completely cut it out because the final photograph was so bad. I think this was a situation where I was panicking. We had beautiful light, very little time, and I was just looking for a shot because of the lights. You must have experienced that. You get beautiful light, a glow in the morning, a beautiful sunrise, and you're frantic, oh God, I've not got anything to shoot. Foreground, midground, lights, shoot, and then it doesn't work. That's kind of what happened with this. I was just trying to shoot the light and frame anything, a subject, this mound here, subject, didn't work. It's interesting actually that I think that photograph's horrible because it actually has all the ingredients of a great photograph. Beautiful light, foreground subject, mountains in the background, great sky, they just didn't come together. It's like trying to make a meal from ingredients. I don't know, I can't, anyway, yeah. I don't want to dwell on that too much. Let's see, let's find what else. Tell you what, let's go for this one. This was quite a, so let me zoom in a bit so we can get it there. There we go. Yeah, that's better. So this is an image of mine that I took recently on an autumnal trip to Scotland. You know, you're surrounded by the bigger landscape and beautiful colours all around, but it really pays to just look down and try and find these intimate scenes. I mean, this is all about the patterns and the colours and obviously the contrast within the scene. These lily pads, and in particular this kind of violet blue lily pad, really makes it for me in the shape. So this was a favourite of mine for sure, because not only was it so unexpected, but it's the kind of photography that I thoroughly enjoyed and that I think is a lot more difficult than it looks to shoot something like this. A fine example of how difficult it can be to shoot these intimate scenes down on the ground is this, which unfortunately fell short. This was taken at the very beginning of 2023, I believe in January, and I was just trying to make use of the abstract nature of this branch here with the interesting textured foamy river that we can see below, and pull it all together for a seemingly interesting shot, but it again just fell short of the mark, and it's so difficult to really nail that intimate abstract photography. I have a few images I'm really proud of, but for every image I have that I'm proud of, I have 50 that just don't work out. Oh, okay. Now let's talk about opportunistic photography. Oh yes, this is definitely up there with one of my favorite. I'm gonna say that about all of them, but I really like this image because it was taken on the most awful of days. It was a terrible, terrible day of photography, bad weather, not great locations. This was in Svalbard on a dreary day, and the light and the clouds just opened up for about a minute and offered this view. And I tell you what, this is fantastic, and the print came out wonderful as well. On the smooth cotton, I was able to trim away all of the printer head contact marks. So yeah, very, very happy with this one. Mood, atmosphere, drama. It's got it all and is a favourite of 2023. Now, we're gonna stay in Svalbard. And we're going to go for this image. This is a slow burner. This is one that I wasn't sure about when I took it, I wasn't sure about when I processed it, but there was something that I really liked about it, something that kept me coming back and kept me interested. And it's that abstract nature, the way that the iceberg looks like it's crumbling and that the ice is sinking to the bottom of the seabed. Which of course it's not, it's an optical illusion. These are fragments of ice floating on the surface, but the shape in which they formed, it just looks like they're falling down to the abyss, and I really like that. I love an image that suggests something other than it is, that gets the viewer thinking, and this definitely does that. So it made it into my top 10, but it's interesting because when I took it, when I processed it, it wasn't anywhere near the top 10. So we'll stick with Svalbard. This is the third image in the collection from Svalbard, which was a great trip for me. It's a shame that Brendan and myself are not running it again in 2024. We were going to. In fact, I sent out a newsletter saying that we are running the trip in 2024, and then the day that I sent the newsletter, or the day after I sent it, we got an email from the ship company, the owners of the ship, saying that they were basically cancelling the start of their season. So we lost the ship, which is a great shame. So no Svalbard 2024, which I'm gutted about because, man, it's a beautiful place and can create some amazing images. And this is one of them. Minimalist, abstract, and just, I just love it. This is the kind of stuff that I would love to shoot more of. But again, it's very difficult to do well. Right, we're gonna go look at some shockers from 2023, but before we do that, I just wanna thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Now, if you don't know who Squarespace are, they're an all-in-one website building platform. So perhaps your New Year's resolution or your goal for 2024 is to get your own website, start sharing more of your work, build an online community, maybe even sell prints like this. Well, you can do it all through Squarespace. You can get an online store, you can have your own members area, of course, you can have your own online gallery. In fact, you can do everything that is expected of a modern day website, including registering your own domain. It's nice and easy. You don't need to learn any code. You don't need to have any web building experience. It's a simple, intuitive drag and drop system. And I know because I've built websites using Squarespace myself in the past, and it is easy. If you get stuck, they've got 24/7 customer support, or just go onto YouTube and search for tutorials on how to build a website using Squarespace. So if you fancy giving it a go this year, go to squarespace.com/Heaton and you'll get a free trial. And if you like that free trial, use the offer code Heaton for 10% off your first purchase. Right, we have two nice images, I reckon possibly position 1 and position 2 here. But before we look at them, let's go back and look at some shockers. So it's one thing to take a quick photograph spontaneously and a quick snapshot and go, no, that didn't quite work. But to set up your tripod, frame your composition, sit on it for what felt like hours, convinced that you have a great image in front of you when actually what you have is quite terrible. Now, the idea of this photograph is fine. You know, I've shot images similar to this that have worked well, but this just didn't. I was trying to photograph the submerged leaf litter beneath a semi-frozen loch or a small pond, and it didn't work at all. Didn't work at all. The leaf litter is just dead brown mush. There's no light. It's like, what is it? Like, you'd show that to someone and it's just embarrassing is what it is. So that is definitely a shocker from 2023. Yeah, here's another one that missed the mark. I was going for a simple, minimalist, abstract look using the shapes and patterns of the sand, the tide, the mist and the fog. All the ingredients were there to create a beautifully mysterious image, but it's just, there's nothing to it. None of the ingredients have that X factor. None of them have light. The texture of this piece down here is not textured enough, and the contrast isn't there. And all in all, it looks like I'm trying really hard to create something. All right, let's look at the two final images from 2023, my top 10 collection. Again, in no particular order, but this is one that I'm really, really proud of. This was a nightmare to print on the flipping. I tell you what, I'm never printing from a roll of paper again. Well, no, I am. I just need to figure out how to do it. This paper has been chewed to pieces. It's an absolute wreck. Although the print itself does look great. Northern Scotland, terrible weather, and just 30 seconds of gloriousness, and I was able to capture this image. And then it was gone. It came as fast as it went. And it's just one of those moments, a classic landscape photography moment. And if you're lucky enough to be just getting into landscape photography and you've not experienced this type of moment yet, oh, you're in for a treat. It's, you know, it's just so, when everything's going against you and then all of a sudden you get that window of light for just a few seconds, everything comes together, you get your image and then it's gone. There's no feeling like it. It's fantastic. Now this image is the complete opposite to that one. This was not fast and spontaneous. This was a slow, well thought out image that I spent, actually myself and Simon Baxter in last week's video, spent quite a lot of time deliberating and tweaking and perfecting. And the result, I think, is my favorite image of 2023. Now, if you haven't seen last week's video, go and check it out because it's probably my favorite video of 2023 with my favorite image of 2023. But I did a terrible job with the thumbnail and title. I really should change that. So I don't know, I don't think it's getting as many views as it deserves. Anyway, this is the image from that video, one of the images. I took quite a few actually. And man, I love this, the texture, the feeling, the mood, the composition. It's got a lot going for it. So there you have it, my top 10 images from 2023. I just want to say all of the videos from all of these images will be linked in the description below. So if you want to see in more detail how these photographs were taken in the field, well, that's what this channel is all about. Now, I'm excited about the photography in 2024 and you should be too. Not my photography, you should be excited about your photography because let me tell you this, every time I go out with my camera, maybe it's just my nature, my cynical nature, but every time I go out with my camera, I never think I'm gonna get a good image. Yet here, looking back at some of my favorites of 2023, man, it just goes to show that get out there, go for a walk, strap on your boots, and you'll be amazed at what can happen. All right, cheers guys, have a good 2024.